Welcome to 247 Real Talk. I'm back. I'm your host, Julian Perry. It's a pleasure to be here with you once again for another episode of the 247 Real Talk podcast. I hope you had an amazing, I have to say 2 weeks because I was missing last week. There was no episode, there was no announcement, and there was a real reason for that, and it will be the content and the context of this episode as I chat with you about personal challenges and something that resulted in no episode last week. I hope you had a good week. I had a trying week, but I'm here and we're going to talk more. So sit back, relax, and I'll be right back. So I'm back, and the show is back this week. I apologize to all of my listeners. I don't know how many audio listeners there are, but there have been close to 50,000 downloads today, which is not a huge number, but to me it means everything. Because it means that many people took the time to listen and are connecting with me, even if they don't interact with me weekly as in those numbers, or overall. Apologies to my YouTube listeners and to my, some people reached out to me and said, hey, what's going on? So this week, I don't know what I'm going to call the episode, maybe just reflections. I'm going to share with you this journey and why I wasn't here last week and what's upcoming. I'm closing on my 300th episode, and that has been the honor of my lifetime. And those of you who follow me will know that there was a time, I think it was either early this year or late last year, when I contemplated shutting the podcast down because I was focusing so much on politics that I was losing my way in terms of helping you cope with everyday life and just having human conversations. I decided to void my podcast of politics as a focus, even though there may be a reference at times. And so I started on my journey with you in a different direction of fully uplifting, upholding, uniting, positive reinforcement. And as all of you should know by now, I'm driven by my faith. And then I also found myself subduing that rhetoric a little bit because I didn't want people to leave the channel because they didn't share my beliefs. And what I realized was a few things. One, when I shifted from politics to simple good feeling, good vibes, I immediately over the next month lost like 100 and something subscribers. That's not a lot to a person who has millions, but I don't. I have thousands. And then I realized too that some people don't believe what I believe, and so they immediately backed off without recognizing that we can have different beliefs but share a common goal. My choice is to believe in God, my creator. My choice is to live by faith through good and bad, through challenges. Someone else has a different belief, that's okay. The last 2 weeks have been really trying. I have been, after years, probably 3 years of planning financially, went on to repairing, and I will share it with you, siding on my house. I realized that the previous owner did a nice, pretty job. He put lipstick on a pig. He had some friend do siding, some neighbor apparently who used to live a couple of doors down. And as I looked there, I realized that the siding was cut short and the gutters were meeting the house and water was going down behind the siding. And I looked behind it, I took a peek, it was rotting the subboard. So I did my financial work, and this year was the year. When they peeled off from the front house, started peeling off the siding, they found out that he had put siding over 3 layers of previous siding, and it was all moisture sogged and rotting, and so all had to be peeled back, and the whole house had to have new plywood framing, and that's usually pressure treated, right? And then, the drywall material, and then the siding. So unplanned, just the amount of boards of plywood it took, I think it was like 50 something, took me into 6,000 or plus over budget. They got to the back of the house and they realized that even though I had the new roof, that the previous owner must have had a leak and he had to replace the roof. So the roof is brand new, it looks good, but when they peeled off the side, they not only didn't find the same thing, but they found that the bay window in the back of my house, the sliding door, all that was held up at the sides. The entire sill plate, if you know about construction, the bottom plate of the whole frame of the back of the house was rotted, and so was the top. Based on this last winter season, there was a possibility that that whole roof could have come down on my kids. I have my son who stays in there, he's always in there on his computer or whatever. But that took the budget an additional somewhere between $12,000 and $15,000 over. So I'm in the hole now over 20 grand. Didn't plan for it, and that was devastating. Without getting into further detail, right when I got that news, right when I said, well, go ahead, because I don't have a choice now, right? They had to take down the entire back of my house and put it back together. Someone in my household who contributes, I'll just put it that way, you can conclude what you want, lost their income. Part of this volatile economy was laid off. A lot came crashing down. My father is 94 years old. He and I have had an amazing father-son relationship from the time I can remember, a little boy. He has now, I want to say, for the most part, 95% of his short-term memory is gone. His long-term memory, he remembers everything. He remembers what bills he has to pay. He remembers everything from 1940-something, 1950-something, 1960-something. But if you have a conversation with him, 2 minutes after you finish the conversation, he doesn't even remember you had a conversation. He and I have had a ritual for decades where we speak every night. And he calls me at specific set times. He likes to do the calling. He feels good about that reaching out. He'll call me several times some nights because he didn't remember he called and we had an entire conversation. That's the price of aging. But at 94 with a great long-term memory still intact and no real health ailments. Other than that, I would say that's more than blessed. And he's still, if you hear him speak, he's strong. He's slower, but he's strong. His voice is robust like mine. But the loss there is that whenever I would go through struggles, Dad and I would always have a conversation that was meaningful. And it would go, something like this, with all I went through in that week, would have been a conversation that would have continued where he would have given me encouragement as a father to a son. But every night he asked me how things are going, and I have to repeat the entire story from the beginning. And he doesn't remember where we were in the story or we even had the conversation. You're a person like me, a person of faith who believes that regardless of what, God knows everything. That's my belief. I hope it doesn't chase you, and if it does and you run away, that's your choice. But that's my belief. And so that's what I've held on to and has been keeping me going through this. My pastor, all the people, friends, and who have given me good wishes and prayers. But during that process, I was about to record last week's episode. I was at a real low, struggling. And I got to a point where I said to myself, is it worth it? And at that time, at that low, it was time to shut it down. I see celebrities start a podcast and get millions of subscribers immediately. I see people start gossip where they spread rumors and they talk about people's personal business and, millions of subscribers. Here we are having a conversation about helping each other, uplifting each other, allowing each other, and giving each other the support we need to get through day-to-day life with our families, our children, our homes, our finances, whatever we talk about. And I've got thousands. And what bothers me is not I've got thousands and I'm not making money, because I do not monetize this channel. What bothered me for that moment, I felt like after almost 300 episodes, I felt like I was failing someone. Like I had not delivered a good enough message for enough people to latch on to it, to feel that it needed to be an important part of their day each and every day. I'm sorry if you guys hear a kid's voice in the mic. My son's playing VR, and he's really loud when he does it. Anyway, the point being, when I prayed and I had all that support, and I won't go through the details, but I felt something lifted me. Something that we call, in my belief, the peace that surpasses all understanding. The circumstances of the last week have not changed today. The future has so many unknowns beyond the normal unknowns. Yet I sit here before you recording this episode, telling you that if out of the thousands of YouTube subscribers and the tens of thousands of people who've downloaded the audio version, if one of you has benefited, and I know you have because I've received enough messages telling me that way. If one of you looks forward to this voice every week, and I know there are several of you who actually reach out to you. I've got one person, he's at the top of the list. He knows who he is when I say that. Despite all my other followers who do reach out, he is my diehard number one. And despite all of that, I realized that with everything that was going on, it was worth it if one person just wanted to hear what I had to say. So I can't remember, this is probably the 293rd or 94th episode or whatever, but we're going to hit 300. I'll let you know, and we're going to keep going. We're going to keep going till I get a message not to go or to change or to flip or something changes. We're going to keep going until I look at my subscribers and analog downloads, audio downloads on YouTube, and everything says 0. And nobody in the world cares about being uplifted. Nobody in the world cares about having a conversation with me until that day comes. If there's one of you who tunes in, if there's one of you who hears from me, if there's one of you who makes a difference, or feel that I make a difference, let me say that correctly, I will be here. So this week's episode is about journeying on. And I will tell you about my details and my personal struggles. And we will share this, and we will do this together. And this too shall pass for me. And when your term comes, you reach out to me, and we will travel that journey together. Why? Because I am here for you, and I'm reaching out to any and all of you who hear from me. And we will continue 247 Real Talk Podcast together. Together, moving, marching, walking, uplifting, laughing, crying, whatever it is that makes sure that we are there for each other in a world that wants to forget us. So you remember this today. 247 Real Talk Podcast. It's real talk. And it's for me, and it's for you. So until the next time, please take care of yourselves and each other.